see 𝗕𝗬𝗑's earnings, of course. Sorry I was out sick yesterday.
𝗕𝗬𝗑 had a pretty rough quarter.
I wouldn't say MicroStrategy is a scam. Scam's a word that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I would say that it's a little bizarre that they're basically an investment company, right? So like,
𝗕𝗬𝗑 had a pretty rough quarter.
The problem with being an investment company is that you have to register as an investment company. You're not allowed to use leverage, and you're not allowed to have big risks like what they do. That's one problem. The other is like, Bitcoin has done well, extremely well, but does it make a lot of sense to have a public company that is all in on Bitcoin and even levered on it? It's a little crazy. TTD is wild as well, yeah. Go over the 𝗕𝗬𝗑 earnings. That's probably a good idea. They were able to beat, which a lot of us who watched the stock were a little confused as to how they were able to beat. And now we have the answer. The 10Q came out, and basically they had a system sale that continued into from last quarter, where they did the big German sale. It's 15 million, 13.6 was booked last quarter, or actually it's 12.6. So there might be another million next quarter or the quarter after. Quantum computing as a service has actually been dropping, even though they've been promoting it more, which is really wild. So last year they had 1.779 in quantum computing, their cloud that they're not letting us go on. So you can see it was 1717 or 1718. Now in Q1 it was 15, and now it's deteriorated to 12, which is really wild considering they should be letting us give them some revenue, but and then professional services, they've actually grown that a little bit, or it's kind of lumpy at least, but kind of cringe, tiny cringe business. So yeah, you can see it's really hard to reconcile the quantum computing revenue going down, the quantum cloud revenue going down. And what I'm told is that basically their customer in Germany, because they have a machine now, they don't need to use the 𝗕𝗬𝗑 cloud anymore. And because they have a machine now, they can rent it to others or give it away to others. So you can see they had no system sales outside like last year or something like that. So they don't do these system sales often. Kipu Quantum, can I use them? That'd be great. I don't see 𝗕𝗬𝗑 anywhere on here. I see IonQ, IQM, Rigetti, 𝗬𝗓. aTyr raised money just before their clinical trial data. Does anybody remember the last time that happened? Does that happen before? Y'all remember that? There's some company that did that, right? Which one was that? It's always good when your game-changing data is just about to come out and you're just like, you know what? Let's sell this stock price right here. I ain't waiting. I need a job. Cash used in the quarter. Well, so far this year, they've burned 35. What's crazy is they have 10 years of cash. That's a little cringe. 338 million shares outstanding. Holy. This base business is worthless, though. And I don't know why they need all this capital. What are they going to do with it? Yeah, I've recently basically concluded that aTyr has no chance. We have some new information. And yeah, we're just convinced I've seen so many of these biotechs over my career, and this is a pretty run-of-the-mill. It just can't work, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know, Michael. I'm not sure that M&A is working so well for IonQ. I think the problem with the drug from aTyr is they don't have a mechanism that makes sense. And usually, if you don't have a mechanism that makes sense and you don't have clinical data that is really strong, it's just that your drug doesn't work. It's pretty rough. aTyr is supposed to report in mid-September, so we actually got a little bit more time. I thought it'd be out at the end of this month. Yeah, Alnylam's out of control. I think 𝗕𝗬𝗑 is going to go down to cash value. There's not a lot of sense for it to trade above that. So it's $2 in cash, so maybe $5. Sarepta, it all depends on you. Your conviction, your position size. Longs are kind of nice because as they go up, you can lighten up and your position size doesn't change that much. Obviously changes a bit, but you can kind of just put a position limit of say 10 or 15% and just sell above that. Abivax doesn't have a mechanism, yeah, but the data has to be really good if you're going to ignore the mechanism. And then look, I didn't bet on the Abivax phase 3, but now we have the phase 3. worked really well. There's no after GLPs. I mean, you have to keep taking them. Most medicine, you have to keep taking. It's not too much medicine where you can just stop taking it. Yeah, I saw the GE position is really interesting. I mean, the jet engines business is a very good business. It's a unique business, and it's kind of this insane moat, to use a overused term. Yeah, I assume we'll see the Anavex comp whenever the next schedule comes out. They'll be on that. The trial design forces you to come off of steroids, so I don't see how that is a good thing. And then without a mechanism or without definitive signal from phase 2, phase 3 usually waters the signal down further in terms of separation. Very rarely do drugs get better from phase 2 to phase 3. I mean, I think that there's literally a 0% chance the drug works. I think it's as bad as anything I've looked at before, like 𝗂𝗏 or whatever. It just doesn't. I don't think they can show a 3 meg decrease. I don't think it's possible. I don't have any puts. I don't advise you trade options. Options are a great way to go broke. I don't think they could do 3 megs lower. It has to be net lower versus placebo. Everyone's getting titrated, or everyone's getting tapered. It's got no chance. Well, when you say peptides, I'm not sure what you mean. I think you're using that term maybe a little colloquially. In pharmaceuticals, many pharmaceuticals are peptides. It's so cringe how the research chemical community has tried to muscle in. Yeah, we listened to the Wainwright call. It's pretty ugly. Most people on Wall Street think he's a clown. That's why they don't have too many stockholders. Yeah, there's basically no probability, Barry. The chance is close to 0. Ooh, Capper's up. I'm gonna short some Capper. I remember the last time somebody was really convinced that I was wrong about a clinical trial. Wait, that's every single time. And I remember the last time I was actually wrong about a clinical trial. Oh, that never happened. Every time it's a new person who's all of a sudden a biotech expert. Yeah, I don't really hedge too much, Barry. I try to do a rifle shot. Well, how come I never heard of you, GJ? I know every biotech Wall Street binary event slinger. Maybe you work in industry, but that doesn't mean you do binary events. I worked in industry too. Doesn't help you that much. You could predict clinical trials, you'd be on Wall Street. Yeah, Shy is definitely in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, but you're not an investor. Pros are pros, man. If you're good at binary events, you make hundreds of millions. You don't even need outside capital. You can bat high batting average on binary events. A lot of the guys I work with, followers, they've become millionaires just doing binary events with your own money. Most pros will never talk about this publicly, correct? I think the trouble with binary events is that you get them right and you'll fritter your capital away on other things, or you'll eventually blow up, correct, JR? So yeah, binary events, there's a lot of, they're generally called special situations, and most of the time it's mergers, M&A. So yeah, the problem with doing binary events is, one, you start to become less stringent on what you will trade. You should only do a couple of binary events a year, in my opinion, with size conviction, or you could do more of them, but with smaller size. Either way, you can anyway, so you can try to do a couple of binary events a year, and you can probably make 50 to 100% a year, but you have to really be patient sitting on your hands for the trades. You need to only do the most insane bets, the 𝗂𝗏s, right? Notice in the first half of 2025, I didn't do any binary events, not a single one. And then aTyr came along, and that passes the test for me. And a couple others I missed, like Capper, kind of, I half got. That was a tricky one. You have to learn how to handicap medicine, and that's a long journey. It might take you it could take you 10 years. Yeah, you can't be wrong, JR. You have to find the worst drugs ever. That's why you only do a couple a year. There's 100, 200, 300 binary events a year. You have to pick the worst of the worst. You just look at drugs, and then when some dog just shows up, you say, okay, this one's bad. And that's why I made the website On the Impossible, because there are truly some drugs that just are impossible that they work, and you have to come up with those. So I wrote a big paper about a company called 𝗦𝗏𝗘𝗦 Therapeutics. It's on my GitHub. You can read the paper, and I basically talked about how it was impossible that this therapy worked. Let me show you how to get it. GitHub.com/Martin Shkreli /models. And you should be able to find it on here. There it is, VTL writeup.pdf. It's just on my GitHub. You can, yeah, there it is. And it's a long paper about 10 years ago, almost to the day, where, we proved that, there is no chance. When one admits that nothing is certain, one must, I think, also add that some things are more nearly certain than others. When Vital Therapies is developing the 𝗓𝗏 for liver failure, there are a number of reasons to be skeptical of this technology. But when we short a stock, we don't want to just be skeptical. We need to be right. This is why, unlike many of our short selling peers, we short only 1 to 3 stocks per year in large size. We bet big when inevitably a company has advanced a therapy so absurd that it simply cannot work. This is one of those times. Our recent shorts using this approach have included Celadon in 2015, Sunesis in 2014, Prana in 2014, Oncothyreon in 2012, Mankind in 2011, Genvec in 2010, Novellus in 2010, Atherogenics in 2007, and Regeneron in 2003. I missed adding here 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗘𝗢 and Northfield, 2 other ones that I did. As you can see, these opportunities don't come around every day. Vital is not still around. Long been. I think Madrigal merged into them. I think you're going to learn something, GJ, after this one. I mean, even your question about KOLs is kind of very much like indicative of a misunderstanding about handicapping clinical trials. I'm not sure the KOLs make a difference. I've never missed on a size short for a clinical trial outcome. I've never missed a short on a clinical trial outcome that I shorted in size. I missed on an FDA approval. And again, for 90% of these questions, the question is, the answer is I don't know. But my point is you find the 1 or 2 dogs in the field and you short them. And I hope you're not a CRA or something. And again, I don't have the time these days to follow every biotech, and I don't have a team of 10, 20 people working for me to follow every biotech. I might add a couple people. For now, I just don't have that time. Yeah, I think you're over-indexing to your experience. I remember developing a drug. I created a drug, and we got everyone to enroll a clinical trial for the first time ever for that disease. And I actually knew the drug did not work. But I invented the drug. I knew that it didn't have the lipophilicity to be active. And I told the company that, but I left the company and they still did the trial, and the trial didn't work. The KOLs were really excited. Just convincing KOLs. The KOLs are stupid. If the KOLs knew how to make the drug, they'd be making the drug. They'd invent the drugs themselves, or they'd be on Wall Street. You got to understand that the value of being able to predict whether a drug works or not makes you a billionaire. Pretending you know a lot about a disease does not make you a billionaire. All right, GJ, if you were really, really good at this, you'd be super duper rich. You'd have a family office with lots of people helping you invest full time. Were you a CRA or not? MSL, CRA? Doctors, you tell me doctors care more about something than money? I don't believe it. Not the doctors I know. Yeah, come on. Yeah, I think you got a long ways to go before you're doing binary events with me, but good luck. All right, GJ, what do you want from me? If this drug works, what do you want me to do? Because CRA is a low-end job. You'd be a little bit more successful than in your career if you were more than a CRA. I mean, if you were good at picking binary events, you wouldn't need to have a CRA job. You'd be rich. You could quit your job. It only takes you a few binary events to become a millionaire. Shorting is investing too, right? No, as an employee CRA, I've hired thousands of CRAs. Not thousands, dozens of CRAs, and it's a very low-paying job. No, I understand you were a CRA, but the point is, like, clinical research associate. Here, let me give you the PnL for the attribution, so you can understand that. Here's my PnL by stock. You can read it and weep. Get out of here, kitty. Ah, poor guy. Poor curry tears. We're gonna call you the curry crier. Here's the attribution by PnL, just so you can get. You're gonna really turn the waterworks on in a second. Poor guy. So there's 𝗕𝗢𝗀, which has cost me literally 27% of my portfolio. Rigetti, which has cost me 18%. and QUBT, which has cost me 11%. Total, quantum has cost me 56%. I'd be up 86% right now if it wasn't for quantum. Oh well. Those are my only 3 big losses, thank God. Here is Huma, and I'll show you the screen for my brokerage app in a second. Huma's down 3%. Joby's my 5th biggest loser, down 2%. Capper is my 6th biggest loser, down 2%. Oh, this guy says he worked on Wall Street? Really? Let's take a look. Strider Investments? Who the hell is Strider Investments? This you? You in Dubai, dog? Okay, so you worked at Goldman, not as a trader. You worked at Goldman in India. Holy moly. Okay. Then you worked at something called Sheffield Asset Management. Then you worked at Bain because you couldn't hack it in hedge funds. And now you started something called Strider. So your entire experience on Wall Street investing was working at this place, not pulling the trigger, but being an analyst. So, sir, you have never actually invested professionally. You have never actually pulled the trigger on a trade. Well, someday you may become a portfolio manager. Good luck. One day you can get out of that rut, being a consultant or being an analyst. You could someday become a, Goldman Sachs in India doesn't count for anything now. What are you doing? The India desk. Homie, you an associate. You did a year as an associate in Bangalore. Stop it. You run a book where? At the company you started? Don't make me laugh. After being a consultant at Bain? I see it says London, but it says associate. Goldman associate. Developing portfolio analytics. That doesn't sound like running a portfolio to me, buddy. That's rough. One day your career will advance. I mean, I believe in you. But yeah, the call center job is not going to get you there on Wall Street. I would get out of Bangalore. I would head to America. I don't think the Indian hedge fund scene's, it's not for you, man. There's not much out there. Get to New York and get thee to a nunnery. So anyway, back to reality. Here's my attribution. This is a PA. This is not an institutional product. I don't believe him in that much. I'm just trying to encourage him. One day you'll make it in America. You say it says Sheffield founder. You're the founder. It should be run by you if you're the founder. Oh, let's see. You said Sheffield. Okay, let's see. Sheffield Asset Management. You were an analyst, right? They took a shot on you and you didn't make it. You had to go become a consultant. What is this? 3 people work at this fund? This guy worked for a real estate company? Worked for a shopping mall? What the? Waveland Capital Management. Man, it's a 200 million AUM. You got to be an analyst for a 3-person hedge fund, never pulling the trigger. Stop it, man. I've had bigger positions than that whole hedge fund just for me. Private equity making more than you ever did. Really? That's a good one. All right. So anyway, back to the attribution. Come on, it's not even close. Okay, so INMB. So this is the question you had, right? Why am I up? Well, this stock gave me 43% return on attribution. So maybe that answers your question. And then this stock gave me 19% performance attribution. So it turns out when you add this up, you have some profits. Now, here's another one that I had a profit for. Aha, 19% attribution again. So it went from, oh, I don't know how you're up to, oh, this is just bad risk management. And when I'm up 100% this year, what are you going to say? Oh, it's bad risk management. Hold on, I put the wrong number in for SBET. The right number is 393383. There we go. Look, I mean, this is a very risky portfolio. It's just how it is. And Sarepta, I am up That's what you said. You said, how is he up? And now you're saying, oh, so you're saying what I... And here's Replimune. Right now I'm up 27. Amazingly, I have a profit on IonQ. Barely up on aTyr now. It's changing every second. Let's IonQ, Cardiff. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. I did this all for you, Aditya. Because you asked, where did the performance come from? This is and called an attribution analysis. So here's your answer. This is my top 18 attribution. Cardiff was a short, yes. I shorted a small amount. I don't need to keep cooking a guy. I mean, look, at the end of the day, everyone has to start on Wall Street somewhere. You know, his career will take all kinds of paths. He'll learn things, hopefully. And that'll be that. You know, one thing you learn on Wall Street is you try not to start fights with anybody. Because you don't know where or when somebody knows your boss or your investor. And that's not good. You don't want to start fights with especially powerful people. You should avoid that. Keep your mouth shut. But anyway, that's it. Any other questions on this attribution? Well, Alan, I mean, even if I did use that, which I don't think is a good thing, a smart thing, I still would be up a lot. Yeah, we bought 𝗲𝗡𝗏 after it blew up. This is nothing, Mark. This is just over 2 months. Yeah, we're still in 𝗲𝗏 is I think our second biggest short. A lot, Paul. I basically went all in on INMB. Yeah, I don't have any options. I've not traded a single option in this account. Options are tough, man. I'll buy cheap options. Sometimes you can make money writing options. I mean, I will agree with Aditya that the volatility of this portfolio is enormous. You know, but this sort of is the just kind of the nature of the kind of portfolio I have to run. You know, I could divide all these by 10 and then I'd be up 3%. So like there's a lot of ways to do risk management. I mean, at the end of the day, Sharp is kind of what matters. But also if you don't have outside capital, you know, you're also kind of, you can have whatever kind of leverage you want.